Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order, this being Tuesday, October 6th, 7 p.m. We appreciate everyone being here, so we'll try to move as expeditiously as possible. Although the agenda looks quite lengthy, some of these things we can move through pretty quickly, I think. The first item of business, of course, is consideration of the minutes of our meeting on Tuesday, September 1, which are regular meetings. Does the chair hear a motion to be approved as they're written, or are there changes?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded the minutes be approved as they're written. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Accordingly, the minutes are approved. We have no request for citizens' comment, so we'll go to the main agenda. The first item under consideration is a consideration of request to rezone properties identified as Nash County parcel numbers, which there are 3, from R10 to B1 over the industrial district, which is the issue that was entertained last week at a public hearing and by the planning board. And the planning board has tabled this issue, waiting for more information coming from the meeting with the neighbors and with Brownsville Milling Company, which I understand is scheduled for next Tuesday evening. As the chair here motion, we concur with the planning board's recommendation to continue tabling the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We agree with the planning board. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, it will be continued until we hear from them further. Okay, item B is a consideration of a resolution to rescind a resolution authorizing a contract and any change orders within a budget amount for BCS for the project known as the Town's Walkable Community Project C5545. This, as you know, was part of our sidewalk project that we thought we had confirmed with BCS contractors. But as it turned out, they did not meet some requirement of the DOT, so they've lost a contract, and we need to rescind the resolution that we passed for the purpose of for the money issues. And item number C is the same thing, as we're working out 2 pots of money. So there's a chair here motion that we consider the rescission of this resolution.
So made.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Accordingly, it is rescinded. Item number C is related to that. As a chair here motion, we also resolve to rescind that resolution.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We rescind the second resolution. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Accordingly, they are rescinded. You'll notify the vendors on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item number D is consideration of an ordinance amending the text of the Town of Nashville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions. This is a plan to allow the sale of beer and wine at special events in town. We're going to change the ordinance. Let me read this as we should. It says, whereas the Town of Nashville has an adopted municipal code containing regulations pertaining to offenses and miscellaneous provisions, and whereas Section 24.3 prohibits alcohol consumption on property owned or occupied by the town, and now therefore be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Nashville that the Town of Nashville Code of Ordinances be amended to reflect the following changes to Chapter 24, Offenses and Miscellaneous, Section 24-3, Consumption of Beer and Wine on Public Property, by adding special events as approved by Town Council shall be exempt, which is Section 24.3, Consumption of Beer and Wine on Public Property, and no person shall consume malt beverages or unfortified wine on any facility, right-of-way, or other property owned or occupied by the town, except special events as approved by the Town Council. Special events as approved by Town Council shall be exempt. And the rest of us perfunctory things with dates and signatures. Does the chair hear a motion we approve this addition to our ordinance language?
Is it time for a question? You got to approve this first.
We need a second, then we can discuss.
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Discuss.
The question I have, Mayor, in the past, we've had the Pumpkin Festival, Blooming Festival, and when the old Joyner's place was downtown.
Mhm.
Alcohol was allowed on the street, but it was not in open containers. We made it put it,
Mhm.
that this ordinance does not allow open container still, is that correct?
The next one coming up talks about consuming it on public streets and designated places. The open ordinances, I'll have to ask our planner to speak to that, but I would think the open container thing would be a problem because state law will not let you carry glass in certain places.
That's
Cans,
what I
I'm
read.
not sure about. Would you mind speaking to that, Brian?
Yes, sir. This is tied directly to the next ordinance that you'll be reviewing. We're trying to amend our ordinances to allow for special events, which often include alcohol consumption on streets or town-owned property. However, our ordinance was written in a way that you could not consume alcohol on town-owned property or streets. So therefore, we got with Liz and we reviewed as a town staff of things we could do in order to move forward with this idea. Mr. Taylor, I think the question you're looking for is, it would always be a police issue, but if we were to approve a special event, we needed to move forward with some of these provisions to allow us to have that right. So that's the reason we're doing it.
But we still ask the question about the open container.
It'll still always be a police issue, and they'll be the ones that enforce it.
Okay.
In the past, even with the prior chief that we had,
Right.
they were bringing stuff out of Joyner's, they could put beer in a cup. And the police's stance was on that, if you bring it out and consume it, not in an open container as such,
Mhm.
in a cup and act like you ought to, then you were allowed to do so. But I don't, and like I say, we cannot, the state won't allow us to have glass out. But people tend to act a fool when you're walking around, everybody got an open can of Budweiser for everybody to see.
Right.
I would like for it to be, if we're gonna allow this, that they would have to put it in a solo cup or whatever you want to use it, but not come out with the original can
Yeah.
or bottle,
Closed container.
closed container.
Well, the Chapter 20 laws and the ALE laws prohibit the consumption of alcohol on public highways. And what you're talking about now, like the Blooming Festival, people walking all over the street, even with the solo cups, were violating the law.
Right.
And
right.
we may have to talk about that, because we're talking about town property, which is the sidewalks and the right-of-ways, but not the highway itself. Will this be a question with the DOT?
I mean, we always have to go through their procedures when we want to close a street down. They are brought in on the Blooming Festival and other events. It'll be a much bigger discussion whenever something like that were to come up, but you were correct, Mayor. Right now, we've just been turning a blind eye to things,
Correct.
and this is a way to tie it all up and make it cleaner.
Would our chief have the latitude to, I guess, add another regulation to it, that it must be, you can bring it out on the streets, but it has to be in a covered container?
Yes, sir. He's part of the TRC, and he's right there with us when we're reviewing things.
Okay.
So he'll be right there chiming in.
Feel that.
Mr.
Do we
Taylor?
need to be very specific? It seems to me we need to be very specific instead of putting the onus on the police force. In other words, it should come from us.
Yeah.
Can I say something, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Concerning this issue?
Please.
Okay, referring now to the city of Rocky Mount. City of Rocky Mount has, on Thursday nights during the summer months, every other Thursday night, they have functions at the Imperial Center, which is town, city property. And the park department actually handles the sale of beer down there. They do, when they take it out, they take it out in a can, pour it in a cup, and you can walk all over the Imperial Center property and drink beer. When they have their, I forgot what they call it now, barbecue and something, but it's right Down East Festival.
Used to be Down East Festival.
Okay, Down East Festival, that's held at Station Square. City of Rocky Mount, once again, allows the sale of alcohol. They do have it in an area, contained in an area with just a little piece of tape around it. And you can drink in that area, and the reason they won't allow it all over the parking, all over the park, I've asked this question, is because children are there in front of the bandstand. So the people who drink beer can stand where they can see the band and everything, but once again, it's in a cup. So
Yeah.
even though they have it available, it is in
Yeah.
a cup.
And there's still a control factor because the
Right.
council's got to approve what the special events are.
That's right.
So
I
we-
have no problem
we-
with it as long as it's in a controlled environment. Like, they rope off a place,
Yeah.
and you cannot go out of that,
Mhm.
that rim in an open container.
Yes, sir.
Because of kids and because of safety and all of
Right,
that.
right.
As long as we still got that handle on it, I don't have a problem.
Yeah. The question now that we're looking at is to sell the stuff on public property.
That,
Okay.
I can agree with.
So are we in agreement with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is further discussion?
So we don't need to be any more specific than this?
Well, I think what the mayor's alluding to, once we pass this and someone comes with a petition to have a special event, that we can put that restriction on them, that they have to have a cordoned off place to have it.
Right. That will come up in the next thing on the agenda.
Right.
Okay,
That,
okay.
I think that would take care of
Okay. So selling is what we're talking about now.
selling.
Okay, selling, okay. Other discussion? The chair here motion, we approve the amendment to the ordinance.
So, Mayor,
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Okay, it is passed. Now, the second item here deals with consuming alcohol on public property. So let me read that briefly. It says, whereas the town of Nashville has adopted a municipal code containing regulations pertaining to streets, sidewalks, and other public places, and whereas Article 4 applies to all street fairs, festivals, carnivals, parades, marches, rallies, demonstrations, and other activities or public events that require the temporary closing or obstruction of all or a portion of any street or other right-of-way, and whereas the town council desires to establish rules and procedures regarding the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages at special events on town property. Now therefore be it ordained by the town council of the town of Nashville that the town of Nashville Code of Ordinances be amended to reflect the following changes to Article 4 street events by adding and special events. By adding special events on property owned or occupied by the town, examples of special events include but are not limited to festivals, food truck rodeos, concerts. Special events shall be considered only if sponsored by a local government, civic group, or nonprofit organization. Section 34-116 addresses activities covered. This article applies to all street fairs, festivals, carnivals, parades, marches, rallies, demonstrations, and other activities or public events. They require the temporary closing or obstruction of all or a portion of any street or any or other public right-of-way or that substantially hinder or prevent the normal flow of vehicular or pedestrian traffic along any street or other public right-of-way, and special events on property owned or occupied by the town. Examples of special events include but are not limited to festivals, food trucks, rodeos, concerts. Special events shall be considered only if sponsored by a local government, civic group, or nonprofit organization. Any activity covered by this article shall hereinafter be referred to as the event. And then it goes to a long section of how we get permitted. And then on the following page, there's a statement in there we include ABC permits and liquor liability insurance when applicable for these groups doing these things. And that everybody has to be bonded and so on and so forth. Now, it is in this section, if you want to put in some control factor about your cups, cans, blind bottles, or whatever, this would be the place to add it. Yeah, yeah. And I would suggest, if that is what you want to do, that we delay this until our next meeting and let Brian, the planners, work on some language that would be suitable to everybody concerning what you want to do. Because I'm personally in favor of, I got any problem drinking beer, but like you say, walking around with cans and bottles and stuff, they become very throwable.
Very cool. And it gives the kids a bad impression also.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So would we like to entertain a motion that we include that language and bring it back next week?
I would offer a motion that we have our planning director to construct a paragraph to cover that aspect of this amendment.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we send this to the planner to include the language concerning the blind containers. Okay, further discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, accordingly, the issue is returned to our planner for further creation. Okay, the next item, lost my place. The next item deals with peddlers. Consideration of an ordinance amending the text of the Town of Nashville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, Peddlers and Solicitors, Article 2, License. This is a rather long thing to read, but maybe I can put it together pretty quickly. What it's telling us is that the chief of police is the person who issues peddlers permits. That peddlers permits in the past have been privileged license or privileged permit. Those things are no longer allowable by the state legislature. So we have to change our language from privilege to peddler's permit, which has been into legislation for I don't know how long, but it's a $50 fee which has been together forever. And we're changing that. The chief of police approves these things, and it's now a peddler's permit and not a privilege license. Nothing else changes, correct?
That's right.
And let me make one comment too before we go forward. If anyone comes and knocks on your door selling something, whatever they're selling, doesn't matter, ask to see their peddler's permit. And if they tell you things like we've been approved by Raleigh, the president, the governor, or somebody, don't believe a word of it. If you don't have one with Tom Bashore's signature on it, he's standing in the back there. If his signature is not on it, then they're bogus. Okay? So much for my diatribe. I'm sorry. Okay. Does the chair hear a motion we approve this ordinance variation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We approve the rewording of the Chapter 28 issue on peddlers and solicitors. Further discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Okay. The next item is consideration for a Part F grant, Parks and Recreational Trust Fund grant, where we collect money from the State Parks Agency for revenue that they collect off deed transfers. Of course, it's not a guaranteed thing, but, we built part of Glover Park with that money. We built the Stony Creek Park with it, and we've done quite well with it. And we now have time for next round of requests. And our planner has submitted a list of ideas that he's been working on. We can't buy everything. We can request up to $500,000. The complication is it's a 50-50 matching grant, which is cash this time. The last time we got that $250,000 from this outfit, we used our land for the matching fee, but we don't have that option now. So if we spend 100, we got to come up with 50. If we want 200, we got to find 100, that sort of thing. Anyway, the list is here: splash pad, skateboard park, picnic shelter, playground upgrades, batting cages, electrical upgrades for lighting the fields, paving existing walking trails, paddle trail on Stony Creek, and acquire additional land for future park growth, and any other thing you want to think about. And Brian is asking us tonight, which way do we want to go? We can't buy everything, but what would you, or something different? And you've had this to think about for a couple of days.
Well, Mayor, one of my pet peeves for the last year has been the number one item on the list,
The splash pad,
the splash pad for the
Right.
kids. And I would
Right.
hope we keep that at the top of the list.
okay?
Number two, Mayor, is skate park. I remember a few months back, we had a contingency of young people coming here with a petition.
We certainly did.
For a skate park, and we kind of fluffed it off, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we haven't sloughed it, it's just kind of been in the
Right.
plan.
What we need are specific information about each one of these, the cost, the liability, everything.
Yeah.
Because, we can want things, but we need to know specifics. How much will it cost? What will be the liability? How many people will actually use it?
Right,
So there's a lot more involved than just going down in a wish list.
right.
The reason I mentioned the splash pad, we've already researched it. Our former purchasing personnel that we had at the town hall has already researched it, have got numbers, got prices and everything. I think Brian has access to that. And we need to do something for the less privileged children in town. And I think that would be a great way to show them. Because if we don't put out a place for them to go, they're gonna end up somewhere we don't want them. So.
And I would say that our parks director probably would have a lot of input as to
It will-
things that he feels are needed.
And we've already talked to the Parks Director, we already got a location and everything set up for it.
So, do I hear what you're saying now? We want to empower our planner to get the details together with the recreation people on the splash pad and the skateboard park?
It's a start.
Now, I've heard a number of people request that we pave the parking trail out at Glover Park because those screenings are starting to erode away, which would be kind of a low-ticket item, if that could be worked in the same amount of money, but That's money too. Do we want to put that in a form of a motion? That he look at the splash pad in the skateboard park
So made.
Second.
and paving his walking trails if we've still got enough money, which we probably won't have. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we direct the planning director with assistance to investigate splash pad details and the skateboard park details. And in it, we're asking for cost, liabilities, participation, what else?
Just said liability.
Liabilities.
That-
I think liability is the big issue
And
we're looking for.
funding.
And funding, of course. Okay. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Okay, all in favor, indicate so by saying yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Okay, got your direction, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is consideration of a budget amendment, which if you will look under your blue page, you will see that we're having to move some money around to cover some last-minute labor and travel issues. Leonard, would you like to address that?
Yeah, Mayor, members of the board, as you know, we're nearing the hiring of a new manager. We're close enough that we know what kind of funds are necessary to effect that hiring. And they're generally expenses related to the recruitment of the manager, the interim town manager expenses, and some additional travel and education expenses. And I've had our finance director to analyze those and determined that we would need $22,100 to accomplish this goal. And I would recommend the board approve the budget amendment.
And the source of the money?
The source of money will come from appropriation of fund balance. I spoke to our finance director, and we don't know yet exactly. We're not close enough on audit to know what kind of money is left over in the general fund, but it looks very good. I think we've done a good job of holding down expenses last year.
Yeah, the last comment I heard was very good, too.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a discussion? I'm sorry, is there a motion?
So made.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there a discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Accordingly, it's done. Now, on the agendas that was distributed, there's been another item added, which is on one we just created later this afternoon. Item I, which is consideration of an employment agreement for a town manager. As you know, we have been working in closed session following recesses since September 5, interviewing persons. And we have finally decided to make a decision on things, and we need to come out of closed session. Is the chair here a motion we come out of closed
So
session?
moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We come out of the extended closed section we've been in since September 25. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, accordingly, we are now back in session. All righty. We have searched and searched and searched. We had a number of applications. We weighted these things, went through them, worked and interviewed. We set up a scale to interview, to assess people as we interviewed them. And the scales were kept privately until we got to the end. We totaled them all up, and it's amazing how we all seem to agree on the same things. And we were quite lucky that we've been able to acquire a person who I think we're going to like, who's going to fit in with us and all the rest of the thing. And his name is Henry Raper. And Henry is right here in front of us. Henry, come up front, please. Okay. I'd like everyone in the crowd to meet Henry Raper, our new town manager. He is not fully legitimate yet because he hasn't signed his contract, which we're going to do now.
Mayor, Mayor, I would move that we.
I'm sorry. I like to say here, I'm way ahead of myself. And while we're in closed session, we decided to extend the contract to Mr. Raper. Does the chair hear a motion that we approve that contract?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Now we're legal. Excuse me for that. I'm just all excited about this. If you'll sign your name right here, sir. We'll fill in all the rest of it later. And Lou's got the official stamp here for the notary. And you're now with us. And I'm going to invest you with the most important element of your office, which is your Nashville lapel pin, which is modeled after our town flag. There you go. There's one of those that left the hemisphere, one of those out of the street. Okay. Now, everybody come around, let's get a picture of them. A brand new and fresh. Fred, ready?
I didn't bring the camera, but
What?
you didn't tell me you were hiring a manager.
You couldn't tell everything.
I did everything except. I did everything, tell you his name. Henry comes to us from North Carolina State University. He was a graduate of their very stellar MPA school. He's also just finished his work to complete the bar exam at Campbell University, so we've got a manager, a lawyer. I don't know what else we got, but we got it. And he'll be around when we close up. Y'all can tell him, start telling your problems. Market calls, crash it didn't get picked up. Let him have it now. Henry, thanks very much.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to working with you. Thank you, sir.
Good.
Okay, let's see, let's get these things signed here. Oh, there's a signing slide. And I might add that during our search, we spent a lot of time deliberating on this stuff. And we talked every possibility, we weighed every consideration, and all of us collectively think we've done well. We'll see, and I hope one day we'll be confirmed that we've made a good decision. I'm sure we have. We'll continue now with the manager's report.
Yes, Mayor, I'm excited. This means my time here, well, no, I shouldn't say I'm excited. My time is drawing nigh. And I should say that Mr. Raper, who actually goes by Hank, will begin his duties a week from next Monday on the 19th. And I'll be here a short period of time and be gone thereafter within a few days. I'd like to compliment the board on your efforts. I've done 5 of these interims, and I know what kind of work it goes into to make a decision like you have, and it's a very important decision, and I compliment you, and I look forward to Hank having a long, successful career here.
Your report, sir?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it. That's enough.
That's great. Okay, council comments. Mr. Taylor?
The only thing I had tonight, welcome the board again to our new town manager. And for the citizens that in the audience, you've been here last week and this week because something hit on your doorstep. Don't wait for something to fall on your doorstep until you come see what the town is doing for you and how we're working for you. Now, the mayor's already alluded to the fact you should be getting some notification in the mail about a call meeting. I think it's going to be at the OD Moore Building next Tuesday. I'll be out of town, but everybody that has a concern about what's going on needs to be there. That way you get a chance to ask your questions, get your answers directly from Mr. Brazel, and you won't have to go on hearsay of what somebody else said. Make your own opinion. from what I understand, Mr. Brownsville, and I know Mr. Brownsville from past experience, I think he's gonna do all he can for him to move forward, but to satisfy the community. So, go there with an open mind, but listen and ask every question that you got on your mind, ask him. Because it's gonna be talking straight from the horse's mouth. And see what happens. And that goes to show, because if you guys haven't been here last Tuesday night, last Wednesday night, this vote probably would have already been decided, either for or against, I don't know. But the vote would probably went off last week. So that just goes to show you, when you participate, when you show up, it makes a difference. So don't drop the ball on that, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor?
This is the other Councilman Taylor, and I wholeheartedly agree with Councilman Larry Taylor. It's good when I look out and see people who are concerned about what's going on in the town of Nashville. I wish more people would do this on a more regular basis, because it makes it easier for us to operate and make sure we're doing what the citizens want. Because when we see the citizens and hear their requests, we know what they want. And it makes it easier on us to try to make decisions that are basic, good, common sense, knowledgeable decisions for all the citizens of the town of Nashville. Once again, thank you for being here, and thank you, Hank, for being here.
Ms. Henry?
Mr. Taylor's have said what needed to be said in reference to citizen participation. I'd also like to thank two candidates for coming, Mr. Coleman and Ms. Bishop. They are concerned about what's going on in our town, and I appreciate their coming to our council meetings. It's very important.
To echo Ms. Hinton's statement, we've got 3 people running for 1 seat this year. 2 of those people are here tonight. This will be a great opportunity for you guys to get to know them if you don't know them already. Because just like you made a difference tonight in what we had on the table, you guys have to make the difference who you want to sit up here with us after November.
Thank you. I see a lot of people looking around. We've mentioned some names. Perhaps Mr. Coleman and Ms. Bishop would like to stand up. I can't see her. She's behind the pole. But these are the people we're talking to and about. So these are the folks you want to speak with. Thank you. And of course, I'd like to thank Mr. Barefoot. I was going to mention this as we move forward, for working with us in his interim status, because he's got a lot of experience in this business. He's helped us ease this thing along very nicely. And he and Mr. Raper are going to be working together over the next several days and maybe the next couple of weeks of getting the transition worked out with the department heads and finding his way around and those sorts of things. But he's going to be out and around town looking things over. When you see him, say hello to him. He's not there to raise your taxes. He's there to help you. Because after all, we live in the business of delivering services for people. Sometimes you don't like the service, but we deliver it anyway. We do what we can. Leonard, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you being with us. You brought a wealth of experience to this job. Okay, with all that being said and done, we're looking into the next generation of management in our town. I hope it's going to go quite well and for a long period of time. And we are ready to adjourn. The chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor indicate so by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Accordingly, we're adjourned.